Hello and welcome to your weekly news and chat about the world of electric cars from the team at electrifying.com. This week, because it is our last one of the year, we're going to take a look back at the news of 2023, the fake, the funny, and some of the factually correct. Welcome to the Kilowatt Half Hour. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe to the Electrifying YouTube channel. And if you are listening in podcast form, then if you don't mind, leave us a little review and some stars, please. Make them 5.
5.
You know, it's not. It's a festive season. It's nice to be friendly during this time of year. Do you know what I mean?
And it will make us happy.
Yeah, because if you want to listen to a balanced view about electric cars, this is the place for you. So, shall we begin? I'm going to cast our minds back to January and this little look.
Let me just cast my mind.
Can you remember those? I mean, it was probably still raining. It was grey like it is now.
Yeah.
Anyway. But this was all over the place. Let's have a listen to the Jeremy Vine show back in January.
Electric cars are a complete contract. The biggest contract inflicted on society since the invention of the internal combustion engine. And it's all about control. It's because eventually a lot of politicians who have a certain point of view want to force cars off the road altogether. So they invented the electric car.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It still makes me angry nearly 12 months on.
I know. Honestly, so we did a video at the time that looked at the whole of that sort of debatable piece of opinion from the Jeremy Vine show that is here on the YouTube channel. But let's just rewind and recap on that bit, shall we? About who actually invented the electric car.
Oh,
Do you know your facts?
I feel bad now because I'm saying, oh, isn't it terrible? All right, I didn't actually know who invented it.
Have you done your research?
No.
Shall I tell you?
Okay.
The Scottish inventor Robert Anderson created the first very crude electric car.
Very crude?
But it was very basic, not
Okay.
crude. Okay. I know where you're going with that. Stop it. That was back in 1832. 1832.
So the recent invention then?
The first electric vehicle that had its own power source, full power source, which was the battery, that also had a driver. So this was the key for this, that somebody could get in and drive it. That was tested in a Paris street in 1881, and that was invented by the French inventor Gustave Trouvé. Apologies, Gustave. I know I've not pronounced your name right.
Yes. Were they all politicians? Or
Maybe he was part-time, Gustave. Maybe he was.
He might have been.
Might have been, yeah.
So by the turn of the century, there was 40% of the cars in the US were powered by steam. And then you had 22% that were run by gasoline, petrol, whatever. And then you had 38% that were running on
38%.
electricity. 38%. So yeah, they were kind of around, before internal combustion engines existed. So no, not invented by politicians.
And that kind of just set the tone for this year, because I think it's fair to say that this year has been the year where the electric car has been under attack like never before. We've just seen news headline after news headline with some quite outrageous claims. But often, and this is the kind of weird thing, that some of those claims were based in truth, but there was no context around it. But I don't think anything quite as outrageous happened this year. Throughout the whole of the year, as the thing that happened to us when our video got recut by the sun. By the sun.
now, I haven't seen this. So
I'll leave
here we
you
are.
to carry on this story, Nicola.
Story time. Once upon a time, there was a presenter called Nicola, who the Sun referred to as woman. Just woman.
Woman drives electric car.
Woman drives electric car for the first time, when actually it was the third time I'd driven that car. So we filmed with the BYD Dolphin, filmed with it in the UK. So I'd already driven it previously. I went over to the European launch. I'd already driven it, spoken about how much I loved it, because I think it's a great car. The video we did in the UK was, here's what I like, here's a few things that I don't like. What they did was they edited our video. They took our video and they cut out all of the positives.
Of course.
And just had a section of negatives.
Yeah.
And the headline was, woman drives electric vehicle for the first time, and here's everything she hates.
And literally, and hates it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a whole entire article. And I was fuming because the comments on our video, actually, I have to say a big thank you to you and everyone that got in touch, because there were so many people writing in our comments going, I hope you've spotted this, but the Sun have taken your video and are posting everything wrong about what you've done.
Yeah, and in any, despite of it is though, in any balanced review, there are always things that you perhaps don't like as much about a car. That's what journalism is about, right? And I think there are some really good people writing for The Sun. The person that did this was not one of them, and I don't think they're there any longer. And also, the worst thing is I know that we're not the only people that they've done that to. They were making a habit of recutting videos, taking the negatives, and just running them as if this was just a complete, takedown on the electric car. Wow. We managed to get the video taken down.
Yes, you did. Well done, Ginny.
Yeah, I did. I
Good.
got really cross about it. Actually, I had a really good chat to The Sun, and they've said like that it's the end of that stuff. But it was just that was just a bit of the theme for the year, was that
Because that video was 90% positive, 10% negative, and they only took the 10%.
which they're also not allowed to do because you can't take content from YouTube and recut it and host it elsewhere.
Absolutely.
That as well.
Yes.
So that was quite a lot. Anything caught your eye this year, Batch?
Well, I'd like to stick with the theme of newspapers, really, with sensationalised headlines.
Okay.
Because there was a piece that really tickled me, and it had the headline, "Why I handed my electric car back with less than 5,000 miles on the clock."
Okay.
The fiction writer and former Secretary of State for Digital Culture, Media and Sport, Nadine Dorries.
Oh, Nadine.
I remember the cycle.
If you're not UK based, just put that name into a search engine and
You'll be there.
find out a bit about Nadine Dorries, because let's just say she's a character.
You'll go down a rabbit hole, that's for certain.
Yeah, she's
But anyway, so she wrote this piece for the Daily Mail earlier this year about why she ditched her electric vehicle. I could just leave it there, really, couldn't I?
You could, but let's not.
But Nadine wrote this piece, and I shall quote from it, because you've got to get into the mindset of Nadine.
Oh, no, please
here.
do, yeah.
So I'm now quoting. "One Sunday last December, it was snowing when I finally admitted it to myself. I had made a dreadful mistake in buying an electric car. I was driving through a blizzard in heavy traffic on the M6 to collect my mother, who was coming to stay with us for Christmas. My middle daughter had insisted," it sounds like an Alan Partridge story, this doesn't it? "My middle daughter had insisted we listen to an audiobook throughout the interminable journey on the motorway I hate most in the world. The wipers on my Renault Zoe were struggling against the snowfall, blah, 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 blah." Basically, range anxiety kicks in for poor Nadine. And after a few miles, she'd just given up because the heater was sucking all the power. She's getting very, very stressed. And so she was trying to look for a fast charger. But apparently, the fast charger more or less vanished north of the Watford Gap. And then she says, "That wasn't in any government policy I had read." So,
Do you think she actually read any government
well, this is the
policies?
thing,
That's
isn't
the question,
it?
isn't
There
it?
are loads of charges.
No.
North
All right. Okay. I feel like I'm slightly uncomfortable about what I'm going to say at this point, but I'm going to say it anyway.
okay.
I think Nadine might have a point.
Whoa! Gosh.
I think she might have a point. So there are currently more chargers in Westminster, which Nadine knows well,
Yes.
than there are in Manchester, Liverpool, and Leeds combined.
Yes.
Combined. So there genuinely is a big issue with charging once you get away from London and the southeast. So I'm not agreeing with Nadine, but I think she has a point on that one.
There is a small point, I grant you, but it's the expectation, isn't it? It's the ignorance that you can just hop into your Renault Zoe and drive, far north in this country and not have a problem.
And not
Yeah.
prepped,
And it's
yeah.
not prepping. And it's just that throwaway line that wasn't in any government policy I'd read. I mean, it doesn't put her in any good light at all,
No,
saying things like that, does it? So that sort of tickled me a little bit, that.
And there's been a bit of a theme of that throughout the year, hasn't there? There was the Giles Corran story, which may even have been towards the end of last year. I don't know. I think it was this year, where Giles Corran wrote this damning piece about sending his Jaguar I-Pace back because it was terrible and the range was dreadful. There's been a lot of bandwagony stuff about that. But there's a piece that really caught my eye.
You've got a smile like this is.
Yes.
I don't know what this is.
I love this because it's so ridiculous. Toasters. Let's talk about toasters now. Yeah,
okay.
Toasters.
Yeah.
Love a toasted crumpet, don't you?
Who doesn't?
Toasted
Always
crumpets
go for a
of
double
butter,
dip with a crumpet.
honestly.
Always double dip a crumpet in a toaster.
Yeah,
Always.
really, it could be really dark.
Again, this is going very Alan Partridge again.
Honestly, actually, my guilty pleasure in life is not chocolate; it's toast with loads of butter on. Just love it.
Yeah.
What I would never do is use my toaster to warm up my electric vehicle. Would you do that? Would you do that?
How would you do that? How would you even do that?
Okay.
I don't understand why you're going.
Well, a man in Denmark, really did try to do this, and he quite literally paid the price. He tried to warm his car battery up by using a toaster.
I don't understand.
I don't
what
understand.
You're saying.
Okay. Well, no, this is
Words are
Okay.
coming out of your mouth. I don't understand them.
So it was so I'm going to read you now from the Danish authorities.
Right. Okay.
So there was a fire. There was a terrible house fire. Nobody was injured or hurt, thankfully. I think it was a car and 2 houses ended up catching fire. The Danish authorities gave this statement. The cause of the fire is most likely to be found in the toaster that the owner had placed under the front of his car to keep the battery warm.
Oh my goodness.
So I don't wait.
So we know.
So has he plugged it in and used like an extension lead to get it outside the?
So we know we talk a lot about preconditioning, don't we? And getting your
Yeah.
battery nice and warm to accept charge, and also you'll get more range out of it. In some weird way, in his head, he had thought that by warming his battery up with another warm appliance, it would help him with the drop in range that
I
you
don't
experience in winter.
understand. I don't understand that because my toast only works when I put bread in it.
Okay, well,
Doesn't yours?
What? So did he put bread?
He put bread
I
in the
don't know if he
toaster.
put bread in it, but he tried to warm his car battery up.
My
the car,
goodness.
Fire damaged both the owner's home and a neighbour's home, and nobody was injured, according to authorities.
Oh,
so they have
babes.
issued a warning in Denmark to people: just don't do that. Let the technology on your car precondition your battery, folks, and don't ever try and do that with a toaster.
This is
But
why
I just thought
when
that was
you see
just
a ridiculous
nuts.
warning, it's because somebody has been that stupid to have
Yeah.
done it in the first place for it to now come with a warning.
Yeah,
That's
Bloody-
now a warning that exists. Don't put your toaster on.
Bloody electric cars always catching fire, aren't they?
Okay.
Unbelievable.
All right,
my
so that
goodness.
was that one that I just thought, that just kind of sums the year up for me when it comes
Yeah.
to ridiculous stories.
I do want to talk about this one because I think there are parts of this that I think we will agree with.
Okay.
So this was an article in the Daily Mail, believe it or not, but stay with me here. So the headline is Electric Car Revolution will turn pavements into obstacle courses by cluttering streets with charging cables.
Okay.
Now this is something that the charities are looking into, especially charities for the blind or for those with disabilities. And that was the big headline on the Daily Mail, saying it's going to be chaos for those that struggle with disabilities or like if they're blind, etc. But actually, I see where they're coming from here. I can see why they would think it would be an issue if you do plug in from home and then you're putting your charger across the pavement to then reach your car if you have street parking. But there is talks of gullies for then your cables to head in, or there are now lamppost chargers so you can plug into a lamppost, so that should then stay tucked into the road. But I do think, as much as it was just the wording of it that bugged me, will turn pavements into obstacle courses really annoyed me. But the rest of it I do think is worth talking about. I think, and it is something that will be happening.
It is. I mean, I did a thing on radio a few weeks ago talking about this, and there's been some, like you say, really genuine concerns raised for people who have limited mobility or limited eyesight. That even though, like you say, cables may go into gullies, it's just more stuff for them to manoeuvre around as well, and also just the fact that you're putting quite bulky chargers onto, here in the UK, the pavements are quite narrow. There's not a lot of space. And whilst lamppost chargers, yes, they're quite discreet, there are still a lot of other, higher powered units going in. Some of them are really quite chunky. So I think there is a genuine concern there. And I know that people like Motability are doing some really brilliant work in looking at the design of chargers. I was chatting to somebody at the London EV show a couple of weeks ago. And they were just talking to me about how they're trying to look at making the charging, the charging points much more discreet for that very reason. And also thinking about like practical considerations like the height of chargers as well.
Yeah.
I mean, generally making chargers more accessible is something that we really need to think about. But there is this, it's just changing so much, isn't it? It's quite literally changing our streets. But I do agree that turning them into obstacle courses is maybe going a little too far.
Yes, slightly. Yes. Can I bring up Rowan Atkinson?
Oh, please do. Of course you can. We actually already did. We did a video on this where we spoke about it's just.
I know, but I do think it's worth coming back to
I
because
definitely agree with you.
I
yes.
mean, he really did have a Mr. Bean moment this year, didn't he? Because he wrote this piece in the Guardian.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a big piece.
I did actually think there were a few points he made which were very valid. And,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of opinion in there, and I'm absolutely fine with opinion, but there was some things which I took issue, and I know we all took issue about. Let me just read a little bit from his article. The problem with electric cars lies with the lithium-ion batteries fitted currently to nearly all electric vehicles. They're absurdly heavy, contain many rare earth metals, and huge amounts of energy are required to make them. And they only last about 10 years. Now, I think we all agreed that the biggest issue with this, with Rowan's article, was the claim of the batteries only last about 10 years. I mean, that's been disproved on many occasions, isn't it? And I do feel as though, unfortunately, Rowan's been caught up in an argument which a lot of anti-EVers like to throw around, don't they?
They do. But I think for me, the problem with this was that it was written in The Guardian, which of all the publications that are out there, it is the one that is probably most supportive of electric cars. It's very conscious about the environment. And yet they let this piece go out without being fact-checked. And I found that was absolutely, utterly ridiculous. So I remember when we did the video, we did a bit of research at the time, and we were just like, let's just throw this out there. So we looked at the Nissan Leaf, which has been on sale for longer than any other electric car. We looked at how many were on sale, and we've just done this again today. And there are currently 75 all-electric Nissan Leafs around the UK for sale, roughly around that number, all with perfectly good batteries in working order that are over 10 years old. So it really wouldn't have been rocket science to correct that. And then there was a problem, wasn't there, Nick? Because they did correct it.
Well, they did. They amended the original article, which claimed that electric cars only lasted about 10 years. And then they amended it to then say batteries lasted upwards of 10 years. But that wasn't the only part that had to have an edit.
No.
Yeah, and by then it's been shared.
Well, it is. Well, that's the problem. That's the problem. When you correct something, and I say this as a news journalist. Once you've got this out there, you can correct something, but the news is already out there, and that narrative is already out there. So for anyone who might have seen or heard about Rowan's article, you, by all means, go and read it if you wish, but please be aware there are some pretty misleading things in there, and I think it's probably about time we did some battery facts, don't you?
We could do some battery facts. I mean, I'm just saying, battery facts. I think that the issue for me was that it got shared. I mean, it went as far as the US. It was shared on Facebook and social and literally all over the place.
Social media is the worst.
It's the worst.
The absolute worst. Once it's out on social media, it's really hard to backtrack because most people won't read an article. They will just see the tweet that goes with the article, and then
they see it on Facebook and they just share it immediately to their friends, don't they? And then friends of friends see that, and it just widens. But there was one point in there about the rare metals. Now, tell us a little bit more about rare metals, because it's a little bit misleading, isn't it, what Rowan says?
Yeah, he did. I mean, so they do, of course, electric car batteries contain these, very expensive, very valuable, also sometimes quite contentious metals, lithium, cobalt, nickel, manganese. And as well, they use steel and they use aluminium for the casings. And these are really, really valuable. They're incredibly, hard to source. They're worth a huge amount of money. All of them can be recycled. Yeah. So this was just the thing as well, that he was talking about the fact that these minerals and these very valuable components just all go to waste, and they just don't, because it's just financially not worth it for people to let them go to waste. So they get extracted, they can get reused again. We know the batteries have got second and third lives. And yes, I mean, he has a point in that electric car batteries will obviously over time degrade. But they're not going to degrade the way your mobile phone degrades. You will see some, Tom's talked about this on the podcast. Yeah. So he's got a Nissan Leaf, which is 7 or 8 years old now.
8 years old. Yeah.
And that range has dropped over time. It was one of the early ones as well. And that's now not enough for them as a family, so they're looking to trade that in. But, today's batteries, they are protected much more. They're much more, they can take charge a lot more. They are going to last longer. But I think all it takes is one article like that gets shared, that is just, creates a whole load of scarcity.
Written by a car.
Well,
guy.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
Rowan is well known. He used to write for Car Magazine back in the day. He's well known as a petrolhead racing driver.
Yeah.
And amongst sort of car enthusiasts, they'll see that and say, Rowan's speaking some sense here, and reshare that article. It's a shame.
Cool.
It's a
And again,
shame.
it's where social media comes into play. Literally yesterday, right? Yesterday, scrolling through Twitter, and I saw a video. I've got the video here, actually. I saw a video that literally says, another electrical vehicle exploding on the highway. Does anyone know what causes an electrical vehicle to explode? And it's a video of a car up in flames
It
on
looks
the road,
serious.
right?
It looks insane.
Has been retweeted over 700 times, 724 times it's been retweeted, it's been quoted, everyone's spreading this thing, everyone's commenting going, oh my God, that's crazy. Then it's only eventually you figure out that was a video of gas cylinders that was on the back of a truck in Russia in 2013. 10 years ago, completely different video, but someone's sharing this video saying it's an electric car, and then that's it, word spreads and everyone goes anti-EV.
Well, the big thing that's happened this year, isn't it, is that Luton airport car fire, because that's a perfect example.
That was on Twitter doing that.
That was,
well.
and it was all sort of, swept up by social media. I'm sure all of you have heard of this. There was a car fire in the short stay car park, I think, at Luton. Somebody said it was an electric car, and then that was just spread. That message was spread. It later turned out it was a Range Rover, wasn't it? A diesel Range Rover, I think. I feel as though I may be spreading some misinformation,
I think that's
but
what
I'm
it was,
99% sure it was a Range Rover diesel.
It was a Range Rover diesel.
And but by that point, it doesn't matter. Like we were going back earlier on about correcting something. Many people came out and corrected the record, but as soon as that message was out there about the fact it was an electric car, it was gone. And people still talking about it now. Hey, about that electric, that's not an electric car. It wasn't an electric car. But it's gone.
We've covered the insurance claim on that before, haven't we, on the podcast? Just about
Tom mentioned it, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. I mean, I'd love to know what the outcome of that was. I mean, is it potentially that one car was responsible in the end for possibly one of the biggest insurance claims the UK's ever seen?
The whole car park went down.
The whole car park went down. So, I mean, and if it can't, I mean, that's the root cause of it all. But it'll be fascinating to see what happens with that down the line.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do one more story that I am going to go back to our friends at the Sun.
Just drop it, Nick. Drop it, Ginny, all right?
So they've done this kind of very helpful article. Electric vehicles, everything you need to know about them.
Sounds helpful. Sounds delightful.
If only it was actually true and useful.
I'm ready.
So the headline is, EV drivers face a £100 fine under the highway code as electric cars are hit by winter struggle.
Oh, God.
So this is
£100 fine?
Yeah, so this
How?
is, well, exactly. So this is basically the fact that in winter, electric cars, the batteries in an electric car are drained quicker than at other times of the year, which...
That's what Nadine discovered.
Which we know, exactly
Yes.
what Nadine discovered. But what they're saying is that if your vehicle dies in the middle of the road, so if you break down and it's blocking the road, you can face a £100 fine and points on your licence, according to Rule 97 of the Highway Code.
No, that's not a thing.
It is. That's a
Really?
thing. Oh, but it's a thing for every car.
Well, yeah.
Every car that, yes.
Every car. It's like, it doesn't say under Rule 97 of the Highway Code that it's only electric cars. But the best part of it all is the picture that they've used to illustrate it is a petrol Honda Civic. No,
I can see it is, yes.
They don't know.
It's a petrol Honda Civic.
It's a 10-year-old Honda Civic.
They don't know what they're doing.
And I just think that, so this is the problem.
Oh,
So,
my goodness.
I know. So I think, it has been quite a depressing year. And I think for that, and I don't know about you, but I think my hope for next year is that we just get a bit more balance out there around electric cars.
I think what I want next year are for more anti-EV people just to experience driving one.
Yeah.
Just to get in a car once, to experience what it's like, to know how it feels. Because the amount of people on my social media, like I'll post something positive about an electric car, and the amount of people go, oh yeah, but I don't have this, yeah, but I don't, yeah, but you really got to do this, yeah, but I'm going to get there quicker if I go there in my Golf R or whatever.
You can't drive to John O'Groats in an electric car. Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
I just want those people just to experience what it's like behind the wheel of an EV. That's what I want. I wonder if maybe we can do like a video on electrifying where we just find some random people that absolutely hate electric cars, people that have commented hatred towards electric cars, and we'll get them in an EV.
I think that's a really good idea. I think we should do that in January.
Yeah.
I think we've not got long left on this final episode of the Kilowatt Half Hour for 2023.
It's been a great year.
You can hear some random scratching. That's Ziggy, my
the dog.
He's trying to get a comfy spot in
He's
his
a
bed
good
down
boy.
there. He's like, Ziggy, stop that, please. Thanks. Yeah, you down there.
Can I say before we come to the end of the episode, this has been my first year with electrifying, and I've absolutely blooming loved it.
Oh, we love you,
I've loved
honestly.
it.
Yay. Yeah, honestly, it's been it's just so great to have you on the gang.
It's been brilliant.
is.
It's a lovely team, lovely crew. Everything's all been lovely.
So
Something
you've
lovely.
eaten all the party rings there, so you're
Yeah, I have,
very
yeah, I did,
hospitable.
So let's wrap the final podcast of the year up with just a quick look to next year, to 2024. What are you most looking forward to about 2024? What's the one car in 2024 that you are most one car that you're most excited about driving?
Oh, it's between two for me, but I'm going to go with one because that was the question. The Renault 5.
That was up there. That's in my top 3.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for the Cyberster, I think.
That was my other choice.
I'm really excited about the MG Cyberster.
Should have gone first, shouldn't I? Lesson for next year's final podcast.
You've got to say yours now.
I think for me, oh gosh, it's probably not the most exciting of cars, but I am excited about the Citroen EC3.
Okay, yeah.
I think
affordability.
I want to see how it drives. I just think it's going to be, I want it to be good because I think that's got such a great affordable package. I'm also quite excited about the EV3.
Yeah.
Just seeing if that really is a little Diddy version of the EV9. But again, like you know, Cyberstar. I don't think you said Cyberstar. It's great. And the 5.
Yeah, but I think out of all of those choices, I think the one that is most important, the one that's probably going to be the top seller is the EC3, isn't it? I think.
Okay, so we're saying I got the best choice.
I think it's going to set a new bar in terms of EV
And we need it.
affordability and where other brands will now be heading.
Yeah.
That's what I think is going to happen.
We do. So from our little look back at some of the hits and the misses in the news about electric cars this year, and a little look forward to what we're looking forward to driving. Just thanks to everybody. I mean, we haven't always got it out every week, this podcast. We will try harder in 2024.
Everybody's been so busy.
But we are going to try much harder. But thanks for all your comments and your likes. And as always, please do, if you're listening to this on all the usual podcast channels, give us a 5-star review. It really does help. If you're listening to it here on YouTube, make sure you follow and like and subscribe. And thanks for all your support this year. And we'll see you in 2024. See you next year.
See you then. Bye.